traditionally have, but I think you'll understand the reason. Tonight, on behalf of the entire Board of Education, I want to recognize and honor two individuals who passed away during the last 2 weeks. Bill O'Brien on the 6th and Carmen Scavato on the 15th. Both were modest men who led very exceptional lives. They would probably be mad at me for singling them out for praise because that wasn't their nature. They were always about family first, country, and town, not about themselves. Their careers and their lives epitomized the character, dedication, and selfless sense of duty of citizens from their generation. I'm the old guy here, and because of that, I had the privilege of working with these gentlemen in my early years in school administration. Both were dedicated educators who were role models and mentors to those of us newbies in the profession. And I can tell you that they influenced me in more ways than I can mention. Both of them lived long lives, each 92 years old, both Navy veterans of World War II, members of the greatest generation as Tom Brokaw had deemed it, both elementary teachers and both longtime elementary principals. Bill was principal of Noah Webster School and finished his career at Hazardville Memorial. Carmen was the first principal of Enfield Street School, the same school he retired from. As an aside, Bill was my wife's first principal when she joined the Hazardville staff in 1970. Both of these gentlemen retired in 1988, each after almost 40 years serving Enfield children as educators. Most of you probably don't know it, that Bill was also a talented athlete who signed a professional baseball contract with the Boston Red Sox and played in the Red Sox and Pirates organizations after his discharge from the Navy. And upon retirement, Bill also served 2 terms on the Enfield Board of Education. One could say that serving Enfield citizens was the O'Brien and Scavato family business as well. Both had wives who also dedicated themselves to Enfield's children. Mary O'Brien as an elementary and special education teacher, and later upon her retirement, she came back to education as an exceptional long-term substitute teacher, mostly at JFK. Jean Scavato, Carmen's wife, after raising 8 children, served as a dedicated school nurse for many years in town. Carmen's daughter, Maureen Sample, someone you all know, followed her father into education and just recently retired as Parkman's principal. These gentlemen and their families served the Enfield community for 9 decades. We have been blessed by their dedication, their life's work, their commitment to this town and to this country. The Enfield we now live in is a tribute not only to our current citizens, but most importantly to those like Bill and Carmen who came before us. They touched many people in this town and definitely made a positive difference in the lives of all who knew them. Please take a moment to reflect on and honor the lives of these fine gentlemen. Keep them and their families in your prayers. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Scavato. And remember, Enfield is the town it is today because of their efforts and all of our efforts, both from the living and from those like Bill and Carmen who came before us. Please take a moment of silent meditation and keep them in your prayers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Neville. In case of an emergency or fire, the emergency evacuation is to the rear of the chambers here or down the stairs to the left and out into the parking lot. Kathy, could I have roll call, please?
Mr. Neville?
Here.
Mrs. Thurston? Here. Mr. Grady? Mr. Renier?
Here.
Mrs. Riley? Here. Mrs. Ungary? Mr. Cruzel?
Here.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Here.
Chairman Serrard?
Here. For the record, Ms. Ungary is out traveling and Mr. Grady hurt himself today.
You all right?
He should be fine.
Okay.
Board guests.
There are none this evening, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Superintendent's report. Mr. Drezek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item tonight for this evening is I have the pleasure of reminding teachers that summer's over and that all staff will be returning on next Tuesday, August 29th for convocation at Enfield High School. Staff will participate in a variety of professional learning activities on both the 30th and the 31st, and enclosed in your packet is a letter from Ms. Middleton, our Chief Academic Officer, outlining all the professional learning activities that we have going forth for staff on those 2 professional development days. With convocation also comes the following week, as we're all excited for, is the first day of school. This year, our first day of school is on Tuesday, September 5th. Enclosed in your packets, and I also sent an email out to the board last week, was a flyer that I'll explain a little bit on right now. And I have a color copy here for you, and I didn't have an opportunity to put it up on the screen for the audience to see, so I'll hand it up in case you haven't had an opportunity to see it. But this is actually a partnership that we engaged with Enfield Youth Services on, and it's an attendance campaign that we've joined the likes of Youth Services on. They actually attended a conference this past, over the summer in Atlanta. And the Atlanta Public Schools was doing an attendance campaign to try to promote and get kids excited about coming back to school for the first day. And while they were down there, someone took a snapshot on their phone and sent it to me and said, this is something we should do. Would you support it? And immediately said, absolutely. So I have to thank Joanna Fornwalt and Jean Hoy for all their support, and they actually were able to obtain grant money. And I was just informed on my way over here this evening that the posters that will be distributed are in. They're hoping to drop them off tomorrow. So in addition to seeing this first day flyer on social media, on the Board of Ed's website, on town websites, we're also going to physically put these posters in all town offices, all school offices, and they're also going to reach out to local businesses to see if they would be willing to allow us to put these signs in here. As you all know and are very aware that consistent school attendance is vital for kids to learn, and this is a good first start for us to get the word out and get kids excited to come back for the first day of school. While we're on the topic of the first day of school, as board members, on the 5th, we obviously welcome all of you to attend any kind of first day of school events in the schools of your choosing. I know in years past, board members have come just to remind you all why you're up here and what you're doing for, and to see the kids come back on the first day. So all of our schools will welcome any board members who are interested in coming to visit for any of the first day of school events. Next on my superintendent's report is a transition update. This was an item that was put on a few months ago when we were talking about the elementary reorganization. I can tell you tonight we had our first administrative council meeting this morning, and I can tell you with great confidence, because I made them all swear to me that what they were telling me was accurate, because I was going to publicly state this evening, is that all systems are ready to go for the first day of school. Back to school letter and assignment letters for kids and families have been sent out. We've already gotten a few phone calls on them, so I know they've been received. The buildings are ready and prepared to go. There's still a few minor movement things that have to go on, but nothing that the building and the staff can't take. All teachers that have been reassigned from other schools, all their materials and equipment have been moved and ready to go. Classrooms have been cleaned. Our buildings and ground staff have done an unbelievable job getting our buildings ready for the first day of school, and everyone is extremely confident that come September 5th, everything's ready to go. My hope is that by the next time we meet, there isn't a need for a transition report, because everyone will be happy and safe in their new places. So I will keep you up to date on that as we go. The next item on the agenda is the JFK update. From the information I sent out to you last week, and there's information in your packet from the town manager's office, the town council will be having their quarterly Q&A meeting this coming Thursday at JFK Middle School from 6 to 8 to discuss the PCB issue at JFK. The first part of the meeting is more of an informal Q&A. Our anticipation is we're not only going to have myself and the town manager there, but we'll also have representatives from the state health department, our local health official, EPA, DEP, as well as the town's environmental consultants. The first part of the program from 6 to 7 is actually in the JFK cafeteria, where information will be distributed to anyone who's interested in attending, and it'll really put in perspective of what the situation is that we're dealing with, and hopefully put some people's minds at ease. I know this is a sensitive topic for anyone to hear. I by no means are an expert in this area, so we are going to rely on the experts to give us a thorough explanation. But seeing preliminarily some of the information that will be shared, I can assure you that parents will feel much better about the situation when they actually hear from the professionals. I'm not at liberty to give away more than that, but I will tell you I've seen drafts. The second part of the evening from 7 to 8 will be in the auditorium. That will be a more formal presentation. The town manager will begin the presentation with some introductions and giving a bit of a chronology on how we got to this point. At that point, he's going to turn the program over to the experts. So environmental consultant will address the audience, as well as health officials and EPA and DEP. After the conclusion of that, there will be another formal Q&A for any residents or any family members or any staff or students that may be there. If they have questions, we'll make ourselves available as long as need be to answer questions that people may have. For those who aren't able to attend this coming Thursday night, we were going to coordinate with the town manager's office that any materials that are distributed that evening, that we will send them out either via our website or our school messenger so that people have an opportunity to hear about or see the materials that were given out that evening. And lastly, Mr. Longy and I intend on the 29th after convocation to attend the JFK initial school faculty meeting so that if there's any questions faculty and staff don't have an opportunity to ask or attend, Mr. Longy and I will be there along with Mr. Sargalski to answer. So that's the information I have thus far. There's certainly more to come, but I encourage anyone who's available to attend Thursday night, and more information from that point will follow. The last thing that's not on the report, and I'm going to ask Mr. Longy to hand out, because you are actually the first people to see this. When I say hot off the presses, Kathy, I think it's literally printed about 45 minutes ago. Our teachers haven't seen this yet. Our faculty hasn't seen this yet, but I wanted, Ms. Middleton asked if I would share this with you guys first. As you're all aware, the district has made a real concerted effort about pushing our K-12 STEAM initiative for all of our kids in the district. And one of the things that we recognized was we need to do a better job of letting the public know and the community know exactly all the great things that are happening in the district. And this is one of the first opportunities that we had to really showcase the effort and the commitment the board has placed into this program, but also the commitment that our teachers and staff have. So we've put together this informational brochure, for lack of a better term. It literally just got proofed about 4 o'clock this afternoon. They quickly ran off some color copies so that you can have it. We're going to send this out to all staff in the coming days, I hope, and then we'll publicize it via our own website, via social media and things along those lines. But we wanted to, since the board has made such a commitment and has supported this concept and this program for so long, we wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to see it before everyone else did. The grants report and the personnel report are in your packets, and that concludes what I have for a superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Dreddick. Audiences.
Wait, oh, sorry. Come up.
Come on up, Marcy.
Forgot to write my name down. Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
It's on, yeah. Marcy. Oh,
There you go.
it's heavier than I thought. Okay. Marcy Talicio, 23 Coolidge. I want to thank the superintendent and deputy superintendent because I know that communication is something that they are working to improve and kind of making sure that parents in the community are aware of all things happening, going on in the school. So thank you for that. And as you guys know, I'm quite a sounding board for parents. And so one of the things that's come to me recently is Power School. Is that what it's called? Power School? Yeah, and the fact that HACC is no longer being utilized, I think, for JFK in the high school. I, for one, didn't know until my daughter told me, and many other parents had no clue that HACC was no longer being used. So I'm just wondering how that communication was passed along to parents, and when that will be up and running, because parents still don't know schedules for their kids for the first day. And I, for one, got a letter that my daughter will find out the first day, which for high school, as a freshman, it's pretty intimidating. So if we could just find out when that communication went out, if it did at all, and if we can maybe get some more information to parents before the first day of school, I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other audiences? Sensing none. Board member comments. Mr. Noble.
I just have one or two things here. First of all, welcome back, everybody. This is always an exciting time to come back, and we bring all these fresh-faced youngsters in, and this is an exciting day for them. And I've always told my teachers that the first impression they get is you. And this is a positive experience depending on how you respond to them. And we have wonderful staff, and they do a great job with it. But it's such a great day, the first day of school, and it was always the best part of my year. It was exciting. You did all this work up into that, and you did it, and you got in there, and you saw the faces of these kids and their parents and stuff. And I think we have to make the most of it because they have a positive opening there just as a great way to start the school year. Secondly, I'm looking for some information through the chair to Mr. Drezek. Recently, my wife, who is the only one who knows how to use Facebook in my house, pulled up some information about some numbers of central office administrators, okay? And she asked me whether, we had that many. I think it was 22 or 23. And my count said it didn't, and I know that there's been some questions about it. So what I wanted to do was find out about it. So if we have 22, I'm excited about it because that there's a problem here. So I wanted to ask Mr. Drezek how many we actually have in central office.
Yeah.
If we have 22, I'm not aware of it. I like you, would welcome 22. I don't know where that number came. This is the first I've heard of it. But off the top of my head, and I'll do it as quickly as I can. By my count, we have 8 certified administrators at central office.
8.
Including Mr. Longy and myself are in that mix. Again, I don't know where this originated from, so I don't know.
No, I'm not interested in getting to that. I'm just interested in having real numbers out there.
Yeah.
Okay? I came up with, I think, 10, but I think I'd missed one retirement somewhere in there. And I also had Mr. Barasser in there, but he's not an administrator. He's on your cabinet.
He's a cabinet level position, but he's not in order to be classified as an administrator, you have to be certified with an 092. And part of the state requirements and definition for a certified administrator is by not only having the 092 certification, you also have the ability to evaluate staff. And we've had this conversation with the new teacher evaluation system. So there are currently, and again, I'll double check 8 with Mr. Longy. Currently at central office, we have 8 certified administrators. You said Mr. Barassa was not hired as a certified administrator, doesn't do any formal evaluations. Neither does our business manager, who is certified to be a school business manager, but not certified to be a quote-unquote state-defined administrator. So there could be 10 if you included those as senior level positions at central office, but as far as actual administrators go, there's 8.
I was trying to figure out where the numbers came from, okay? I went back and tried to figure it out because I know it was either a year, maybe 2 years ago, that we changed our administrative organization. We eliminated department chairs, of which there were quite a few, okay? I couldn't tally them up to 22 or 23, but we cut those. How many years ago did we cut them? 2 years ago?
I think it was more than 2 years ago. If memory serves, and I didn't have this prepared for the evening, but I believe.
What was the reason we cut them?
Well, at the time, with the new teacher evaluation system and the cycle that every teacher had to be evaluated on, you can only be evaluated by a certified administrator. And the former organization of the district, when we had 3 secondary schools, there was 2 high schools in JFK, each school had their own department chair for that school. Technically, those department chairs were teachers, and it was a stipended position. The challenge with that is those department chairs couldn't evaluate their staff members because they were also classified as teachers, and they were in the same bargaining unit. So I believe it was 3 years ago, and I can get that information for you after the meeting or in the coming days, but at the time, we were in a bit of a situation when we didn't have enough certified administrators to complete the new evaluation process that the state imposed. So we consolidated those department chairs. So if there was 3 English department chairs at the secondary level, we consolidated that down from 3 to 1, but made them a certified administrator, and then they had the responsibility of evaluating their subsequent departments. And that was done district-wide. There was only a handful of district-wide administrators in the district as far as K-12, I should say. PE was one of them, art was one of them, but the other core subjects are really at the 6-12 level.
Okay. If my memory serves me, and it may not, so correct me if I'm wrong, we lost an administrator in this year's budget, Nathan
Correct.
Hill. I mean, we end up moving some people around, but the tally was one short of what it was last year. Would that be correct?
Correct.
What happened to their responsibilities?
Those responsibilities, as we're finding out, I mentioned earlier that we had our first administrative council meeting today, and what we do during this initial meeting is start distributing who's going to evaluate whom. The fallout of that and being down one administrator is that everyone's evaluation numbers have increased. So initially, when we had planned this out, we like to keep it in somewhere in that 15 teacher range, just because logistics of evaluating and the amount of observations that have to take place and the amount of the actual process with submitting the paperwork and the face-to-face meetings and the pre and post observations and all the things that go along with it. Taking on more than 15 is a challenge. Right now, again, we're still working on it because the numbers are a little bit higher, but we were somewhere in that area of over 20 today.
You may not be able to answer this, but how many of their responsibilities are state mandated? I know the evaluation, the process is mandated, and I know the special ed, everybody knows that it's federally and state mandated, but how much of their time is spent up, even an approximate amount, dealing with mandates?
I
You don't
don't
wanna
know if I can
guess,
give you a
that's fine.
number as far as what it is. I can tell you it's a lot. If you really break down what our folks are required to do, a lot of that is mandated by state or federal law. I haven't, put a qualitative analysis on the amount of time that they spend, but I can tell you that a lot of the frustrations that they feel are because of those, and we do the best we can to encourage and support them.
I'm bringing it up because I just want factual data to come out, and I think we'll deal with facts, whatever we have to do, but it has to be factual. And when I hear these guys, we bring it up to you a lot, okay? We used to bring it up to Jeff, that if it doesn't make sense to us, we want to get it out. We have nothing to hide. We want to put it in public. And so I thank you for your comments.
No problem.
So, Mr. Noble, thank you. Ms. Thurston.
I just want to welcome everybody back, and I wish them a happy, healthy, and successful school year. And I just can't wait to see the kids on the first day. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Thurston. Mr. Rainier.
Thank you. I just want to thank our partners over at CAPE, along with our state reps, Representative Stokes and Representative Hall, for being a voice and advocate to our town specifically. Obviously, with the budget and how that's going to come out, who knows where it's going to land at this point. But at the very least, I know there's 3 people at state level that are fighting for us as a town, and I greatly appreciate every effort that they put forth for that. I reached out and tried to invite Governor Malloy here tonight. Obviously, he's not here. May not come, but I did talk with our chairman, and we might try to make that a reality, because I think it would behoove us to have a discussion without an individual in the room who made that decision. And maybe there's a good formula, maybe there's a good reason. None of us here see it. So maybe having him come here and speak to it himself, we're going to try, and that's the least we can do. And between the chairman and myself, we'll put our best effort forward to have him come and try to explain that for as long as it's out there. So I appreciate everyone's effort. Administrators, I think your effort in regards to everything and having everyone ready for the first day of school. I'm excited for it. Everyone's excited for it. And one question I do have, and putting the math together, transition, everything's good. First day of school, everything's good. The meeting's going to be at JFK for everyone to hear. So my assumption, if it's correct, is it's going to be safe for kids to go back to JFK on the first day of school.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rainier. Charlotte?
I wanted to first say that my thoughts and prayers go out to the families that were affected by the car accident in town the other night, and also to all the other sad things that are occurring around the world, our country, and our state. This is a difficult time at best, and we need to work together to bring peace to our communities. I know mostly everyone is anxious about what's going on with the budget and how that will affect our school community. The road ahead will be bumpy, and tough decisions will need to be made, which is going to require all of us to work together and creatively to ensure that our children's educational needs are going to be met. I want to thank Superintendent Drezek for being proactive in your efforts to put the wheels in motion so that we can begin to deal with whatever may come down the road. I'd like to add on a positive note that I was at Henry Barnard the other day helping to get some folders ready for the first day, and the school's looking really good. All the faculty that I saw that day were enthusiastic and ready to go. I think that it can be a really productive and great year if we all stay positive and work together. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Mr. Cruzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Representative Courtney for coming out to the Q&A yesterday at Enfield High. There was a pretty good turnout for that. And believe it or not, he's as frustrated with Hartford just as much as we are frustrated with Hartford. It's like the middle is missing in this equation. So, and he did make his points clear on that also yesterday. So thank you for that. And again, welcome to our new team and success to the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purcell. Tina?
Okay, first, I'd like to welcome our new superintendent and our deputy superintendent. Welcome. This is our first official meeting in the council chambers. I'll miss seeing you at Enfield High, but you'll just get to see me more and more here. So it's your lucky time. But I wanted to say welcome. I also want to thank the superintendent for the communication regarding the governor's cuts, because I started to get a flood of questions about that, and I thought the communication was insightful and good. And I love that you were working with the town on that, because that was good. You should be commended for that. I'd also like to welcome the new administrators. I know we have some new administrators and the principals and the new teachers. And the best wishes for the teachers and the administrators that are here, because they really are the champions of our district. They're the ones that keep the wheels in motion really well. I will ask through the chair about the Sharp School communication. I'm even a little bit dark on that. When will we? Or Power School, I'm sorry.
And I don't have the information in front of me, so I apologize. I know this has been a tremendous project on our part, and I know communication has gone out. Definitively where I have my notes to double check on that.
Okay.
But anytime you're converting over the summertime from one student database to another, there are obvious headaches that go along with that. I know our staff has been working diligently all summer, and I really have to commend Mr. Barassa, Mr. Lesiak, and Ms. Wiley, Dr. Wiley, who really took the project on and essentially cut their summer vacations down to nothing to make sure that all systems were ready to go on the first day of school. So I'll touch base with them tomorrow and find out what the next phase in the communication process is. I know it exists because I see them all.
Yeah.
I don't retain them all because I know it's not always directed at me, but I will double check and get some information out to the board.
Okay.
May I throw a question?
Sure, I just have one more question. So the question seems to be that people are wondering, for the high school kids, since there isn't a homeroom, when would they receive their schedule? In that first period class, or?
You can. He was over there today. I'll let him.
So if it's similar to last year, freshman orientation is next week, so all freshmen will get their schedules before any other student receives it. The freshmen will be in good shape. They'll receive their schedules, they'll get to tour the building, just like last year, so they'll
Okay.
be in very good shape.
Okay.
You're right. In years past, Home Access Center would be open, their schedule would be there. With the modern day, kids would come in with their phone ready to go, or they'd print it out at home. What I believe they're going to do is they're going to set up stations as the kids come into the school. We did the same thing last year, down in the gym, down in the main foyer, and we did it by grade level. And so staff were stationed at areas. The kids would come through. We'd get them through as quick as we could.
Okay.
They would get their schedule, and then they would move to their first period. So the first
Okay.
period class obviously is going to be delayed as we get schedules out.
Sure.
But it's going to be a little bit longer this year if HAC is not up and running.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Noel?
I remember when this happened, I came in and saw Dr. Schumann and Mr. Barassa, and since I brought up the last system, Penimation, with Mr. Barassa and Sarah Collins over a 2-year period, which was a very, very tough conversion, my concern was, how are we going to get this done on time? The facts of the matter is that Power School bought out Penimation. Okay, that's how this happened. And we were very, very fortunate because we saved a lot of money and we're first in line to do the conversion because we knew how difficult it was going to be. And whenever you take on this, even though we have our data in correct format, when you roll over data, old data, into a new database, you really don't know what the percentages of the data that's going to be accurate. And once you find out, you're hoping it's going to be in the 90s, okay? If it's in the 70s, you're re-entering this data, so it's a lot of work, and there's no easy way to do it. What I'm upset about or concerned about is that we have not gotten that message out. She's correct. I mean, we should have gotten out that there's a change coming. We'll keep you informed as we know, and I think we didn't do that, but we also had a lot of other stuff on our plate. But I think it's certainly correct that people are concerned that things are a little bit different. My own experience with Power Schools, since we were advocating that when we brought the last one, because it's a good program, and most of the schools in Connecticut use it, I think the rollover will be pretty successful, but it's going to take a lot of time. They may not call it hack, but they'll have something that will imitate hack. It'll probably have a different name, but every school has it. My grandsons have it up in Swampscott, so there's really not a lot of change there. But when people don't know there's a change, then I think they have questions, and it's a legitimate question. So we may want to get something out on the email just to let people know that we've made a major change. We don't anticipate that it's going to stop things, but it prevented us from doing what we usually do, which is to get something out in a timely manner. And that just be patient with us as we go through a transition process. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think those guys know what they're doing. They're working hard, and they will get it done. But I would say that, and I think with some certainty, that the features that we had there will be there with a different name on it, and probably more data will be accessible by parents and by students. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Walter.
Through the chair to the superintendent, could we do like a robocall on it too, maybe, if it gets to the point that?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because it does tie into the school messenger system as well. There, as Mr. Neville stated, the features within Power School are much greater than what we currently had. And I can speak from personal experience. If you want to see it afterward, I'll show you my kid's high school schedule next year that my wife is currently freaking out about. But there is plenty of more information on that than there is
Just a
having
way to
looked at both
communicate it
systems.
out,
I know.
maybe, you know.
I certainly agree. If we didn't communicate it properly prior to the year, I'm just not 100% certain that we hadn't. It could be something that was sent out that maybe everyone missed, and I don't want to rush to judgment that it wasn't sent out initially till I know definitively.
Everybody
and
likes
I'll
to hear
find that
Guy's
out.
voice on the TV, the telephone. So.
Well, the problem is sometimes when the announcement may have gone out, it might have been toward the end of the year when there's Guy's voice overload with messages going out. So I'm hopeful that didn't happen, but I want to double check that it did. So once I know definitively that we didn't send something out, I'll make sure that the communication thus far is as seamless as it can be for parents.
We're not blaming. We're just looking for.
No, it's a legitimate question. I'm not denying that. I'm not in a position to say one way or the other because I don't definitively know what was done.
Go ahead, Tina.
I'd like to tell you that Thursday, August 31st is considered International Overdose Awareness Day. And there's going to be many groups that are going to be at the front lawn of the Connecticut State Capitol building on Capitol Ave in Hartford. The event is scheduled from 5:30 to 7:30. There will be 917 purple flags to represent the overdoses in Connecticut last year. And they will have luminaries with their names on them. There's a family in town that lost their son to an overdose last year. And so the mom has created a group called Alex's Army. And they're trying to raise awareness about the recent opioid addictions. And she has shirts that she sells. They try to raise money to get the awareness out. They do the Enfield Rocks, where they put the rocks around town. If anybody's interested, the shirts are called Alex's Army. I have a shirt, and people ask me every time I wear that, like, what does that represent? So kudos to this mom, because she took her sadness and anger, and she's trying to redirect it into something that is a really, really strong topic right now, not only in Enfield, but across all 50 states. So just something for you guys to all know on Thursday that'll be happening, and there's going to be a group from Enfield that's going to be representing Alex's Army there. To the students and parents, I hope you all have a wonderful first day of school. I hope that you've had a safe, happy, and healthy summer, and I look forward to the school year starting. Thank you.
Can I ask Jane a question?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm losing my voice here at this point, but the shirts and stuff, and I've seen them around town,
Yes.
okay? Would it be possible for us to get shirts and wear them to a meeting at some point? Because, I mean, this is a good thing. The opioid thing is crazy. And it's just, I don't see any of the stuff that we're doing is actually addressing it. I'm wondering if we as a board, at least symbolically, could do something.
Yeah, they're black shirts, and they say Alex's Army in White. I don't know if you've seen them. They're $15. They just had a big fundraising event August 13th to raise money, to raise awareness. They're also giving scholarships. They gave some through Riley's Dance School. The family has been involved with Riley's Dance School for a long time, so this year they actually had a few tribute dances to our son, and that was just, it was beautiful. But I know the person, so I can reach out to her, so if you guys are interested, just email me your size, and I can let her know. So.
Would we be any problem doing that here and kind of recognizing a particular private event? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Well, it's not really a private event, like people are just buying the shirts and then, wearing them, so it would have to be up to...
I'll buy a shirt. We'll pay for the shirts.
Yeah, we'll buy the shirt.
Yeah, we'll buy the shirt.
We're still people. We can do that.
Okay. Just thought it was an idea that we could call some attention to.
It's something that I give this mom a lot of credit, because it's a very sad situation, and like I said, she's taken her energy and she's redirecting that, and I think that's powerful.
I agree.
And I have a lot of respect for her as a person for doing that.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Okay. It's one of the longest board member comments ever.
It was shared.
I mean, the whole group.
Say that mine was hijacked,
All right, so let's get this show on a run. Welcome to all our teachers and our staff and our students. We will be opening up on September the 5th. We are hoping that you have a great school year. I agree with Mr. Neville when it comes to this is the most exciting part of our year. The second most exciting part is graduation day. So I will echo my fellow colleagues and say, welcome back. We missed you over the summer. A little bit of history to Mr. Neville's comments about administrators. Being one of the ancient ones on the board, I have intimate knowledge with this. I'm one of the longest serving members. When I first sat here on the board, we reorganized the school district, began doing that. The first thing that we did was we got rid of a ton of administrators. Every school had a vice principal. I mean, they were gone, and we got rid of them. And then no sooner than we finally got used to what was going on with the schools and proved that we could do it without as many administrators, then the governor passed his education reform policy, which required us to hire a whole bunch more people back. That was the state law that mandated us to bring those administrators back, and because Enfield is a unique animal, we said we weren't going to rubber stamp anything, and we came up with our own program, which I think it cut the implementation cost, which was originally somewhere in the ballpark of $4 million down to like 1.2 or 1.3, and we did that together. I think even Mr. Neville was there when we did that. And I know Mr. Neville and I went to Hartford a few times and argued in front of everyone saying, hey, we can't do it this way. You're going to bankrupt us. And we won the argument. We also incorporated both the teachers union and the administrators union in the evaluation system and turned it into a professional development tool, which is something that was never intended by that program. And I think we have a model program for the state. So that's the story of the administrators. I believe that 5 of those administrators that work in central office have a requirement mandated by the board as a condition of their employment to apply for grants. It's either 4 or 5 of them. And those grants are to exceed their salaries, not equal their salaries. So I believe we have 4 or 5 people. I know Michelle does it. I know the special ed person does it. I know that was a requirement that we made about 3 years ago. And those are our primary grant writers for the district. And it was the way that we could get the recognized need for grants in without having to hire additional personnel. And now we have about 4 or 5, at least 4 or 5, that are actually physically writing grants as part of their employment. So the addition of a professional grant writer, I don't think would make that any better or easier or get the work that the 5 are doing now. Everyone is talking about the budget. We talked about Ms. Rainier. I will be personally calling up the governor and inviting him to come to the next Board of Education meeting to address us as to why he chose to do the single largest dollar cut to the town of Enfield. 2 years ago, or it's the starting of this term, the Board of Education made it an official policy that the budget would be a 12-month-a-year process. So rest assured that we're still working on it. And whatever punches may come our way or whatever surprises may come our way, we are constantly talking about it. Right now, this is just a discussion point. It is a suggestion by the governor. And the legislature could live up to its responsibilities and pass a budget. This is not a budget, this is an executive order. If they don't, they're defaulting on their primary responsibility as legislators. Now, because of my contacts in the Capitol, I know there is a budget that holds cities and towns harmless and properly funds education. The problem is the Republicans came up with it, and the majority party won't let it be brought up for a vote or even discussion. I have been saying for about 8 years now that the magic cards and the magic tricks and the card shuffles are done. The state's in serious financial distress. That's why we did what we did as a board to reorganize. And I want to ask the governor to his face why we were fiscally responsible, why he just decided to choose Enfield to do the single largest cut when there are cities and towns and a good portion of the legislature that pretended the problem didn't exist for the past 10 years. And to reward those that stuck their head in the sand, I can't see it. I can't see it. It's not fair. And it's the worst kind of politics. So when I invite him, and hopefully he will show up, because I'm going to ask him that question, and I want all of you guys to ask that question, because it's not fair. Sorry, I'm a little upset about it. We're going to be opening up on September 5th, and we're going to continue providing the education, the best education that we can, because that's what we do. And that's the biggest part of my complaint tonight is that there's a budget out there that could be approved tomorrow that would make all of our educational problems go away, and they won't even address it.
Point of information, could you also invite our representatives and senator to come to that meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on. Unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business?
We do not.
Thank you, Mr. Dresley. New business. Mr. Dresley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item under new business tonight is to approve the ED 099 agreement for a child nutrition program. The ED 099 agreement for child nutrition program is actually the formal agreement between the Enfield Public Schools and the state of Connecticut to operate our child nutrition program. Since we've had some change in personnel, most notably Andy and myself, we're required to resubmit our agreement to the State Department of Education with the new personnel names. So we would require the board to take action to authorize not only myself, Andy, and the board secretary as the authorized signers for the ED 099 agreement for child nutrition programs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neville, seconded by Ms. Thurston. Any discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Renier?
Yes.
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Krizel?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Sirard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make it so.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is very similar to the one you just approved, except this is an annual agreement that the board has to take action on with regards to the Enfield Head Start's Child and Adult Care Food Program agreement for the 2017 and 18 school year. This is the agreement that the state requires. There's a checklist in your packet of all the requirements that go forth with this agreement, but the state requires the board to take formal action to approve Head Start, their child and adult food program. This is something that we've done every year since the inception of Head Start.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Thurston, seconded by Mr. Krizel. Any discussion?
I just have a question. Now, I certainly understand the Head Start's child food program. I just don't understand the adult care. I just don't.
Part of, as you know, part of the Head Start programming is they do a lot of parent engagement.
Right.
And as part of that parent engagement, they actually serve food to families.
Fine, that's fine.
And you need state approval in order to do that.
Not a problem. I totally agree.
Any other discussion? Yes, Mr. Rayner.
CACPP form. In regards to Board of Directors, it asks if it's the same board as last year. That would be different, correct?
The Head Start Board of Directors is different than the Enfield. Are you referring to being the different board of education members? Head Start has a board as well, which we have board representation on.
Okay, so that's not us.
No, that's not you.
Okay, cool.
Any other discussion? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Renier?
Yes.
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Krizel?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Sarard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Take it so. Mr. Drezek.
And lastly, there's a grant application that Mr. John Daig, who's one of our STEAM coordinators, and it's kind of ties into what Mr. Sarard had said earlier, has actually applied for a $100,000 grant. That's the Career and Technical Education Secondary Supplemental Enhancement Grant is the technical name for it. This grant is essentially what is going to help develop and continue the machining pathways in preparing students to enter careers in manufacturing, and also it will enhance our partnership with his Nuntuck's College Connections program. The grant will also support not just the program that we partner with as Nuntuck for, but it also helps with machining and equipment that we would use for our Woods program at Enfield High School. To give you the best example of what this money would be used for, I believe at the end of last school year, Mr. Grizel brought to the board's attention that the Raider on the Enfield High School sign was now missing, and we needed to replace it with an eagle. I can report back to the board that Mr. Daig not only took that as a personal challenge like he usually does, but he actually incorporated it into the kids' curriculum. So starting September 5th, our Woods 2 kids are actually part of their curriculum. Their first assignment is machining and creating the eagle that will ultimately go on the sign at Enfield High School. That is all connected to what this grant is. The grant requires that the board has some recognition of their sustainability plan. One of those, and I'll just quickly bullet point them out, there's nothing that is out of the ordinary. One of the things is that the board will continue to fund the College Connection student program, which is currently our partnership with Nuntuck, which I don't believe we have any anticipation of not doing that. As anything I pursue that we try to do more. If it were up to me, I try to get more kids in that program than we can, because the partnership with Nuntuck is invaluable to these kids. Second is that we have to maintain our student college and career support services that we currently provide with our career counselors at Enfield High School. That's built into their job descriptions. That's not going to change. We have to maintain our technology education and vocational education repair and supply accounts to maintain grant purchased equipment and consumable materials. We have this equipment already. We have no choice but to maintain it. That's not going to change with anything with this grant. We have to maintain software licenses for the CAD equipment. We're obligated to do that as well. And lastly, we have to include the computer technology purchased through the grant in our technology replacement plan. All of that, essentially what the state is requiring, that you're acknowledging that you're going to continue to do what I just listed out that you're going to do, and they need to see minutes from a board meeting that you approve it.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Neville, seconded by Ms. Thurston. That is, of course, to approve the application for the grant. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question. To the chair, to
Mr.
Drezek. Excuse me. I know we've increased our numbers dramatically that go over to Nuntuck. And I know the original plan was to use the bus service that we have, the Magic Carpet, I believe it's called. Are we still using that? Or did we ever get started using that? Because that was the biggest issue we had with that program, was we didn't have transportation. And what we had talked about a year ago, I think, was to have it coordinate with the schedule of the school so that kids could use the transportation. Did anything happen with that?
It's my understanding that we did,
Okay.
and I'll reconfirm it for this school year. But you are correct. We have made a concerted effort to increase the number of seats and kids that get a chance to go to Nuntuck.
Okay, thank you very much. If you could get back to us at the next meeting or something like that, I'd appreciate it.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Renier?
Yes.
Mrs. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Krizel?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Sarard?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Item 12, board committee reports. Building committee.
Not much to report. It's winding down, that's all.
The meetings are getting shorter, and I know that Gilbane is just about wrapped up with all their stuff. I think the next project they have is for Gilbane is to put up the plaque that we saw the other night. It's absolutely gorgeous. They did a great job with it.
Plaque
Actually,
cake.
they're going to put up both plaques, correct?
Yes, the original plaque and the new plaque.
We're winding down. There's still a lot of work to be done with the state, and we'll probably be meeting for another year or two, but the bulk of it's all done. We're meeting like every
Yeah,
month.
every month, or every
month.
5 weeks, or 4 or 5 weeks now.
Are we still dealing with punch lists?
No?
No,
No, we're all
that's,
done with
that's,
that.
that's all set.
This is more resolving purchase orders, things that, and also things that the state will reimburse with that. There's a lot of
There
just,
was an issue with furniture that Mr. Rippish was dealing with, and that bill just got finalized and approved because they forgot some plug mold or something in it, so that got resolved, and it's just wrapping up contracts through Gilbane, that's all.
Curriculum.
we were supposed to have a meeting tomorrow night, but because there was a death in the coordinator's family, and we didn't have a big agenda, we decided just to postpone it until our regular meeting in September.
Finance.
We had a meeting on last Tuesday, and we have three approvals to go through, and some line item transfers to go through, so.
Leadership. There's nothing really for leadership to meet about. So. Policy.
We met last Tuesday. We have started going over a list of policy revamps brought to us by CABE. We're starting on the 9,000 series and working our way around there. They instructed us that was the best way to go forward. We're starting with 9,000 and then the zeros and then the ones and on and on and on. The volume in which they gave us for policies, some we have, some we don't have, but are very beneficial to our district. We went through them, discussed them, looked at sample policies that they had, weeded through the good ones, and hopefully we'll finish that in the next meeting we have and bring those to the board for a reading.
Very good. Any other committees?
Facilities, Walter and I are on that, and I think we've met several times over the summer. We're planning out a presentation that we're going to make to the council, and I think we're looking to do it probably in October if we can get there. They're trying to get us onto their schedule with a preliminary outline of where we think we should go, and we're starting. If you recall the report that we had, which I can't remember the title of it, but it laid out all of the things. We looked at the building enclosure, which include the roofs and the walls and the windows and stuff like that. We looked at HVAC, we looked at electricity, we looked at statutory things and stuff like that. And we've focused on the envelope, and we're looking at roofs initially and trying to come up with a short-term plan to deal with the roof issue that we have and a long-term plan so we never get in this position again. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated. I think we were supposed to meet this
Yeah, we
Thursday,
was
but
having a meeting Thursday, but we
have
got
the meeting.
tabled.
It's off now, I think, because we're having the meeting over at
Q&A.
JFK. So we'll let you know when it's rescheduled.
Mrs. Blank.
The JFK pre-ref committee has done its job, so we won't be meeting anymore. As of August 7th, they fulfilled their charge, and now we wait, and hopefully the referendum passes. And then the next steps would be, when the ref passes, they would start taking applications for a new building committee. So that's an update on that.
Thank you. Anything else? Approval of minutes, special meeting minutes, June 27th.
So moved.
Any discussion? Sensing none? Show of hands? I abstain, I was not at that meeting. Special meeting minutes, July 11th,
So moved.
2017. Any discussion?
I never get to second or move it.
Motion made by Mr. Cruzel, seconded by Ms. LeBlanc. Seconded by Ms. Thurston. Any discussion? Show of hands?
Oh, yes, my hand was up.
Yeah, okay. Approval of accounts and payroll, Mr. Cruzel.
Yes, Ray Peabody's favorite time of the meeting.
Speed read it.
All right, here we go. The Finance Committee met on August 15, 2017, to review financial statements for the month of May, year to date, and to examine various documents related to finance. Our review concluded there was nothing significant to report to the board. Motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that the month of May, total expenditures amount to $5,951,137.06, broken down between payroll totaling $4,118,864.98 and other accounts totaling $1,832,272.08. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted within the books of accounts. Copies of the approvals and checks and invoices are properly documented.
Motion seconded by Ms. O'Reilly. Any discussion? Show of hands.
Number 2.
June.
The Finance Committee met on August 15, 2017, to review financial statements for the month of June, year to date, and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded there is nothing significant to report to the board. Motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of June, total expenditures amount to $8,154,598.19, broken down between payroll totaling $2,845,726.60 and other accounts totaling $5,308,871.59. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approvals and check invoices are properly documented.
Any discussion? Show of hands. Select.
The Finance Committee met on August 15, 2017, to review financial statements for the month of July year to date and to examine various documents related to finance. Our review concluded there is nothing significant to report to the board. Motion. I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of July, total expenditures amount to $1,922,234.03, broken down between payroll totaling $443,303.55 and other accounts totaling $1,478,930.48. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approvals and check invoices are properly documented.
Any discussion? Show of hands. There you go.
Oh, my hand's up too.
Any line item transfers?
Yes, we have one. The Finance Committee met on August 15, 2017, to review line item transfer requested for fiscal year 2017. I move that the Enfield Board of Education approve the following line item transfers. From 100 staff salaries, $170,254. To account 200 benefits, $1,203,335. And account 600 tech supplies materials in the amount of $343,478, which totals $1,717,067.00. Let me say that again. $1,717,067. And these are going to account 300 professional services, $885,249, a 500 transport, tuition, other insurance. Yeah, other insurance, right?
Other insurance.
Yeah, print and postage, $487,835. 700 equipment and uniforms, $318,457. And 800 dues, fees, and subscriptions, $25,526. a total of $1,717,067.
Second.
Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. Walter, when I was the finance chair, I hated doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Correspondence and communications, Ms. LeBlanc.
Nothing to report.
Audiences. Come on up, Marcy. Name and address, please.
Marcy Twisio, 23 Coolidge. So I just wanted to help. Thank you, Tim, for the question. I did just email all you guys, and I'm sorry, Charlotte, I don't have your email address, so maybe somebody can forward. But I emailed all of you the link to the state website that has all the data that does show 22 certified staff in central office. So hopefully that does help clear up any miscommunications. Thank you.
It's 2015-16 data. We're talking about 2017-18, the year. I'm just responding to you, that's all.
Well, look,
That's fine, I apologize.
it's all good. We have a need for executive session?
We do not.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Ms.
Second.
Thurston, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. Any discussion? Show of hands. We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.